Let's start looking at passive diffusion. Passive diffusion is a spontaneous phenomenon that increases the entropy. That is the entropy of a system and increases the energy. Entropy basically means randomness. The randomness of our system. The transport process is influenced by the characteristics of the transport substance and the nature of the idea. Basically, the particle that is removed across the membrane, whether going inside or outside, and the nature of the idea. When it comes to passive transport, proteins are not involved. Okay? With passive diffusion, no proteins are involved. We're just looking at a particular substance to be moved across. So the speed at which the particle depends on the number of things. The concentration gradient comparing outside and inside, hydrophobicity, basically that's the nature of the lipid membrane and the particle in question is transported across. Size, whether it's big, small, charge, is it a neutral molecule, non-polar, all that influences how fast it moves across the membrane. Basically, passive diffusion, what you have, the number of particles on one side, in this case, on the outside, we have the barrier, which acts as a selectively area barrier, preventing movement of the particle outside. With time, diffusion can take place. You start to see molecules moving from that side to the other, crossing the barrier, the membrane structure. Until such a time, when the outside and the inside are balanced. Once you balance, there's no more driving force. Because the driving force in this case is the gradient, the difference between the concentration on the outside and the concentration on the inside. So as time progresses, the bottom on the x-axis is time. As time elapses, you see that there's movement of the particles which we are located outside coming over the inside. Eventually, we have more or less the same number of particles on the outside and the inside. At that point, no movement will take place. So the driving force of the difference in the concentration gradient. As we see in this example, we get an area, no proteins are involved to assist the particles to move from the outside into the inside. That's the first example, passive diffusion. We have another type, which is called facilitated diffusion. So facilitated diffusion, also known as facilitated transport or passive mediated transport, is the process of a spontaneous passive transport of molecules or ions across a biological membrane via specific transmembrane integral protein. So which means with facilitated transport, now we are going to involve proteins to assist in the movement of particles across the biological membrane. Okay. So with facilitated diffusion, there is no requirement for chemical energy. No direct requirement for chemical energy in the form of ATP. As we shall see later, in another type of transport system, we need to spend energy in form of ATP. So for facilitated, yes, we're involving proteins, but we don't need to hydrolyze a molecule of ATP to spend energy. That process will take place. What happens is that the molecules and ions move down their concentration gradient, basically reflecting its diffusive nature. The issue of concentration gradient C becomes paramount in this case. So firstly, transport derives from molecular binding between the nutrient or ion and the membrane-headed channel or carrier protein. Remember, with facilitated diffusion, we need to involve the carrier protein. So, for the particle to be moved across, it has space to bind the protein. Once it binds, then it can be moved across the barrier. In this case, the rate of facilitated diffusion is saturable with respect to the concentration between the two phases. Maybe you get the proof of the second part. Simple diffusion, quick division is linear. If you compare simple diffusion, fast diffusion, just linear. What should be the graph of such look like? That's the one that starts to increase, it levels off. Okay? You are binding something to something. When all the sides they are bound with substrates, you can only bind once if the carrier proteins release the molecules which are bound on their receptor sites, isn't it? The enzyme, the active site. Okay? You increase until you reach a point when all the active sites are occupied. That's the satural point, when all the active sites are occupied. So basically, for the satural one, the red graph. You start binding until all the carrier molecules, they have a particle which are transporting across, the normal can be added. Simple one, there is no molecule binding, it's just continuous movement, that's why it's linear, the blue line. So apart from the concentration and binding, temperature, dependence of facilitated transport is substantially different due to the presence of an activated complex compared to free diffusion, where dependence on temperature is mild. So again, with facilitated diffusion, temperature will affect the speed at which the particle will move across the biological membrane. So basically, the protein that facilitated transport across the membrane can be in different forms. The first one is what we call the channels. Basically, those are the ones which just create an opening. Okay? Now a continuous opening from the outside going into the inside. So you have flow of the particles which were able to cross the lipid bilayer. Once the transmembrane protein creates this opening, site where basically the binding takes place. You look at this one at the moment, it's in a conformation which is called the outward facing. The molecule will go in, then it's bound to leave. The system turns round, the middle one, then at the end, the inside facing the opening inside. The molecule is taken from outside, eventually transported into the inside. Basically, on its own, the particle was unable to cross through the barrier, but using the protein carrier, it's able to be transported across the membrane. But the mechanisms are different between that particular carrier and the channel. Okay. So you have a channel, the ion channel. A channel is just like an opening, a canal. You know the membrane is the barrier. We are talking about transport. We need to move things from the outside to the inside. On its own, the particle will not cross the barrier. It needs something to assist it to move from the outside going into the inside. So the first example is a channel. When you look closely, you see there is an opening where the blue dots are flowing. Okay. So basically what it does, that type of protein molecule creates a space in the barrier, the membrane structure. So things can easily move from outside into the inside. That's what is happening. Later on, we talked about the facilitated diffusion, where you need to have a protein carrier. The particle to be transported has to bind to the protein molecule. And that's what is happening in these three cartoons. So that one, the mechanism is different because we are involving binding. Unlike in the first case of the ion channel, there is no binding. You just created an opening, things can flow. But with this one, to bind, you need to have information first. You see the opening towards the top, the outside, where the blue circles can come in and bind. It's bound. You move to the middle configuration. You have closed the top part. The last one, you have opened the bottom part. It's now inward facing. Once like that, it's releasing the blue molecules. So you take it from outside, you bring it inside. That's how you overcome the barrier created by the biological membrane. That's the way things are moved across the membrane. So for example, glucose, sodium ions, and chloride ions are just a few examples of molecules and ions that must efficiently cross the plasma membrane, but to reach the lipid bilayer barrier. So the transport is facilitated by proteins that span the membrane, the integral protein, and provide the utility route or bypass mechanism. Basically, that's what we discussed about. Okay? On their own, they cannot cross the membrane structure. So the proteins that act as carriers are too large to move across the membrane. Basically, what we tend to find, they are transmembrane proteins with fixed transmembrane are the ones that expand the entire lipid bilayer. Okay? So an example is a protein called GLUT1, which is a glucose carrier in plasma membrane of various cells. So when you look at the structure, GLUT1, the large integral protein with 12 transmembrane alpha hexes that span the lipid bilayer. So basically, what you have here is what we already saw in the previous cartoon. The carrier proteins cycle between formation, the outward facing to bind the molecule, and eventually the inside facing to release the cargo. You bind the cargo outside, you change the conformation into inward facing, you release the cargo inside. Then the molecule goes back to the outside facing conformation to feed the next cargo, and so on. So basically, you are moving in the cycle, outward facing, inside, go back to the outside facing, then inside facing. So with the carrier protein, there is never an open channel all the way through the membrane. Okay, that's the difference between the ion channel and the carrier. The transport rate is mediated by carriers. Mediated by carriers is faster than in the absence of a catalyst, but slower than with channels. Why is that so? Where you have carriers, transport rate is faster compared to the one the carrier, and if you compare to the channel, it's slower. Why is that so? So a carrier transports only one or a few solid molecules. There are conformation cycles where a single channel opening event may allow flux of many thousands of ions. Okay, if you remember, once you had the outward facing, only one molecule will go in, gets bound, needs to change direction. Inward facing, it releases one. So it picks one at a time, and so on. Okay? Whereas in the ion channel, basically, you just create a hole, a big opening in the membrane structure. So things will just flow in. Like when you open the MAPI, students have to run into the MAPI to find a good place to sit for the exams. Basically, that's what happens. So we've talked about ion channels. Let's look closely about ion channels. So an ion channel or a pore is a protein structure that facilitates the translocation of molecules or ions across the membrane through the creation of a central aqueous channel in the protein. Okay. So you can move things across the membrane by creating an opening, which is water-filled aqueous in nature. You have water in it. So the central channel facilitates diffusion in both directions, so things can move into the cell or can also move out from the inside going out, basically depending on concentration gradient. That's the gradient force. concentration gradient. So with channel proteins, they do not bind or sequester the molecule or ion that is moving through the channel. So there is no binding in this case. Just open hole, things just go through. So because it's just a big hole, it doesn't mean 3 for all. There is some specificity. The channels or ions or molecules basically function being the size and charge. If you are too big, you may not be able to go through the channels, and sometimes the charge may also impede the movement of the particles. So movement across the channels can be regulated by various mechanisms that result in opening or closing of the pore or the passageway. Okay? Because it's an analogy. The channel doesn't mean it is always open. You can open or close it. So basically, you need to have two conformations, the closed conformation and the open conformation, where things can flow from one side to the other. So the channels can cycle between the open and the closed conformation in response to some kind of stimulus. So the key thing to note is basically when it's open, you have this continuous passageway where things move from outside to the inside or from the inside going away from the outside. Whereas in the closed conformation, things cannot cross the barrier. These two lines represent the lipid barrier. Only access from outside to the inside or from inside to the outside being provided through this transmembrane molecule. Okay? Trans because it's spanning across this entire lipid barrier. So the opening or closing is termed as gating the ion channel. When we talk about gating, the opening or closing of the channel. An example of a channel protein is gramicidin. Basically what you have in the molecule, the gramicidin protein, an open channel forms when two gramicidin molecules join end to end to span the membrane. So if these two, one, the bottom and the top, come together, they can form a continuous opening. If they move apart, you close the channel. Okay? So basically, control channel ready is a form of allosteric regulation. So conformational changes may be regulated by one of the following. A change in voltage can switch the gate between the closed and the open conformation. Normally we call them voltage gated channels. By binding of a ligand, can also change the conformation from open to closed. ligand gated channel. We have another one which is called membrane stretch. Basically, the change in tension in the lipid bilayer also signal opening or closing of the channel. So it can be voltage gated, ligand gated, or stretch gated channel. Okay, we have looked at passive diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and we have type, the active one. So let's look at active transport. So far, we've been discussing movement in terms of concentration gradient, using the concentration gradient to move things from high concentration going to low concentration. Now we look at the opposite. So when a solid is moved against the concentration of electrochemical gradient, the transportation consumes metabolic energy, usually ATP. Okay? Now we want to move things from a region where there is low concentration to somewhere where there is larger concentration. It's against the concentration. So in primary active transport, the hydrolysis of the energy provider, that is ATP molecule, takes place directly in order to transport the solute in question. We have primary active transport. We need to directly hydrolyze a molecule of ATP, provide the energy to move the particle against concentration gradient. We may have a situation where the hydrolysis of the energy provider is indirect, as in the case in the secondary active transport. Basically, use is based on the energy stored in an electrochemical gradient to drive another process. So in this case, we have primary active transport and secondary active transport. The difference being in which manner the ATP molecule is used. So the gradient of the co-transported solid will be generated through the use of certain types of proteins called biochemical pumps. Again, just to highlight the point, active transport uses cellular energy, unlike the passive transport, which does not use cellular energy. Okay, let's look at the pumps, which will assist us in moving things against their concentration gradient. The pump basically is a protein that hydrolyzes ATP in order to transport a particular solid through a membrane in order to generate an electrochemical gradient to confer certain membrane protection characteristics. So one of the most important pumps in animal cells is the sodium-potassium pump. Okay? Sodium-potassium pump basically it pumps sodium ions in one direction and the potassium ions in the opposite direction.